The remainder of that second day was about as normal as you could get given the terrifying circumstances. Phil, Sydney, and Chloe spent most of the day getting the door open all the way and trying to see if they could look at the cracks on either side of the elevator. There was enough room actually for us to, well, Phil said that it would give us a chance to piss and shit, and he chose to go first. We actually took turns. I can't believe I held that in for that long. It was strange and disgusting, and everyone turned and looked the other way when someone else went. We are still trying to be a little civil toward each other. I mentally wonder how long that will last, given that people are disappearing one by one. During this time, I also finally got the name of the soldier. According to Amanda, his name is Nick, and she is certain that he is dangerous. I can't help but to agree, given what I know I saw in his backpack. I have tried my best to communicate with her more through shorthand notes to figure out what she means precisely, but it hasn't been easy. I feel as though the others mostly ignore her because of her disability, so I am using that to my advantage to learn some basic ASL. So far she seems to be the only one I can trust. We have a closeness because of the girl that has disappeared, that others in the elevator still seem to have no recollection of her, so it has made me wary of them. Are they all pretending? Is there something else going on here? So much remains unknown. Sleep feels almost impossible, given I don't think I can trust any of them, and I have had to conserve my battery more now than ever. The occasional internet signal that we get from above has become less frequent, and my cell phone is sitting at 63%. I have been careful to limit my activity to just taking notes and then posting an update when there is signal. Calling out or any other casual browsing of my phone is a waste of time. All that matters is making sure I keep a record of this strange, dreadful situation. It feels so easy that I could disappear alongside the girl next. About 6 hours later, when all of us were beginning to wonder just what we would do for food, there was a strange noise from above. I stood up and listened intently, gesturing for Amanda to get to her feet as the others groggily woke. Then the lights in the elevator flickered on and off slowly, as though the power was finally coming on. All of us were up on our feet when the next unexpected miracle seemed to happen. The elevator shook and we felt it begin to rise. Phil shouted excitedly, "See, I told you we were going to get out of here." Amanda instinctively reached for me and squeezed my hand. Her eyes panicked. Something told me our escape was not going to be so easy, but I kept the paranoia to myself for the moment as the elevator slowly lifted us up. Soft hissing came from the still open door as Sydney and Chloe moved out of the way, the nurse pressing the elevator button for the first floor. Then I spotted what looked like long oozing slime dripping from the open wall that was rushing by. Some of it got into the elevator. Amanda pressed herself up against the wall, almost trying to claw her way up to avoid it. I followed her lead and kept away as the slime touched Sydney's foot and she screamed out in agony. "Holy shit," she screamed as she stumbled backward. Phil and Chloe held her against the left wall as the slime ate a small hole into the elevator floor. It was burning faster than acid. The elevator made a lurch and suddenly came to a stop as the chemical slime finished eating a hole near the right half of the door, reducing what little space we had in this claustrophobic hell even. "More, no, dear God, please keep going," Phil said as he tried to reach across the elevator to press a button. "Don't do it," Chloe told him as she struggled to keep away from the slime. But he didn't listen, stretching his arm as far as he could in a desperate attempt to press the button. All of us saw what was happening, and I even tried to pull Phil back before he went too far. But then the elevator made the decision for all of us. It buckled and he fell forward, his hands instinctively pressed outward to lessen the impact, but instead being immediately hit with the toxic sludge. He screamed bloody murder as all of us scrambled to help and try to get him out of the burning goop, everyone except Nick and Chloe as they cautiously avoided getting anywhere near the sludge. The more we tried to help Phil, the more horrid scars were being wrecked on his body. The slime was burning quickly. "Help us or he dies," I screamed to Nick. Whatever this strange material was, it was destroying his skin and going even deeper into his arm. A minute longer and it would be eating muscle and tissue. Something moved Amanda to decide to break from her paralyzed fear and try to help. All of us used our combined weight to turn Phil over as we pushed him to the left wall of the elevator. The slime was gone, but the damage it has done is obvious. Sydney and Chloe took off his shirt to check the skin and tissue around his lungs, where some of it splattered, and Phil continued to struggle to breathe. Most of the burns are near his right arm and hand and chest. I saw Amanda signing something to Nick, and he seemed agitated. She pointed toward his bag, perhaps asking if he has any supplies to help. We warned him not to. It's his own damn fault. We are lucky that stuff didn't touch us, he said as he looked toward the black smoldering acid that was still eating through the elevator floor. Nick became stoic as he looked at the maintenance man and listened to him scream, then stepped over him. Everyone move over there as much as you can, he instructed. We complied begrudgingly as he tossed his bag down aside Phil and unzipped it, taking out a few food supplies. I had recalled seeing some of these survival items in the bag the day before, but hadn't understood what they were for. Then he pulled out what looked like a suitcase from a secret compartment of the bag. I hadn't searched hard enough earlier, I realized. He took out the small briefcase and then the gun, setting them alongside Phil. What the hell is that? Sydney asked, her eyes widening in fear. Holy shit, Eli was right. You are a nut job, Chloe realized. I don't have anything else to offer him except this. Hold on, we can't do this. That elevator is still rising. Maybe we can get him to the hospital I work at. It's just around the corner, Sydney said. Phil is grumbling and his eyes are filled with tears as he looks at Nick. I can't tell if he is consenting or not. Please, everyone look the other way, Nick ordered. I fumble with words, too paralyzed with fear in that moment to see this unfolding before my eyes. He cocks the gun and points it at Phil's head as the women scream, but before he can pull the trigger, more chaos is unleashed. The elevator buckles again, and the strange low gurgling noise we had heard the first night returns. Oh God, it's that thing, I whispered. That others remained still as the noise got closer and the elevator started to shake. Then Chloe turned toward the door and shouted, close it now before it gets to us. Nick pushed me out of the way, ignoring the last bit of the burning ooze as he struggled to try and get the metal grating closed. I thought of how hard it was for Sydney, Phil and Chloe to get it open with their combined strength, and saw the dread in Amanda's eyes as the sound came from right below us. She could feel the entire elevator shaking but wasn't sure what to do or where to hide. Help me, damn it, Nick insisted. I moved to the left side of the door, trying my best to help. Then I felt someone yank me back. Amanda held me there as we both watched what looked like shimmering scales of a massive creature move between the gap of the door and the wall. The scales began to open, revealing strange sinew and odd patterns of scales and teeth as the bellows got louder. I saw at least a couple dozen rows of sharp needled fangs as the maw of this ungodly beast opened, and I grabbed Nick to pull him back. His arm was against the monster's maw, and I heard bones snap as it was crushed by its weight, and he screamed in agony. The lights flickered overhead again, and the elevator buckled again. Then we all felt it plummet. This time I remembered every sensation of the fall. My body levitated from the floor of the elevator for just the briefest of moments as we were hurtled downward. The women screamed, even Amanda. It felt like we were falling forever. Darkness overtook the elevator again, and then at last, we slammed down hard onto the basement floor. It felt like I had broken a few bones as well. My head was throbbing and I was crying. I could hardly move for the longest time as I listened to the sounds of the others' pain. We were in mental agony as well from everything that happened. I just wanted to die as I rubbed my body and looked around the blurry elevator. When I did open my eyes slowly, what I saw next was another spectacle of horror. Amanda was against the door, looking scared but unable to move. Pinned there by the jaws of the beast that had managed to pry the door open. She had somehow managed to get Nick away, but in the process the monster had latched onto her. I couldn't even move my body to reach out to her. It felt like I was being weighed down by bricks. It pulled her into its mouth and she screamed as much as she could. But there was nothing we could do. The others weren't even conscious. It grabbed at her and pulled her all the way into its frightening thin mouth. It happened so fast I couldn't even scream as she was swallowed up. The monster slithered away, and in her place the elevator door closed, leaving behind a pool of blood.